It's time to awaken. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a question that's puzzled many folks over the years. Is Buddhism pessimistic? You know, the kind of thing you might ponder while sipping your morning coffee or reflecting on life's ups and downs. As someone who's hit that golden age of 50 and beyond, like many of you watching, I found myself asking deeper questions about meaning, suffering, and how to find peace in a world that doesn't slow down. People often say, Buddhism seems so downbeat. It talks about suffering, impermanence, letting go, and even the end of desire. It sounds like a recipe for gloom, right? Especially in our American culture, where we're raised on the idea of pursuing happiness, chasing the dream, and always looking on the bright side. But is that really what Buddhism teaches? Or is it just what we pick up from a quick glance, like skimming the headlines without reading the full story? Let's start at the beginning. Picture this. Over 2,500 years ago in ancient India, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, better known as the Buddha, left his palace life to seek answers to life's big mysteries. He wasn't some distant mystic. He was a real person dealing with the same pains we all face: aging, illness, loss. And his famous starting point? Life is suffering. Ouch. That hits hard, doesn't it? It's like hearing a doctor say, "You've got a problem," and walking out before they explain the cure. But here's the key. The Buddha didn't stop there. He laid out what's called the Four Noble Truths. First, yes, suffering exists. It's part of the human experience, from the small frustrations like traffic jams or creaky knees, to the big ones like losing a loved one or facing retirement with uncertainty. Second, there's a cause, our attachments, cravings, and illusions about how life should be. Third, suffering can end. And fourth, there's a path to that freedom, the Eightfold path, which is like a practical roadmap for ethical living, mindfulness, and wisdom. Think of it this way. A doctor isn't pessimistic for diagnosing your ailment. They're helpful for prescribing the medicine. A GPS isn't depressing because it says you're off course. It's empowering because it guides you home. Buddhism isn't a philosophy of despair. It's a toolkit for liberation, especially useful as we get older and reflect on what truly matters. Now, to make this even more relatable, let's bring in an unexpected ally from the world of psychology, Alfred Adler. If you're not familiar, Adler was an Austrian psychologist in the early 1900s, a contemporary of Freud, but with a very different take. While Freud dwelled on the past and hidden drives, Adler focused on the future, on how we can overcome feelings of inadequacy and build a meaningful life. He influenced a lot of modern self-help and therapy here in the US, from motivational speakers to corporate leadership training. Adler believed that at the heart of human struggles is this nagging sense of inferiority, the feeling that I'm not enough. Sound familiar? Maybe it's from comparing ourselves to others on social media, or regretting choices from our younger days, or feeling irrelevant in a fast-changing world. As Americans, we're bombarded with messages about success, bigger houses, better jobs, the perfect family. But Adler said we often respond in unhelpful ways, chasing status, seeking constant praise, trying to control everything around us, or building walls to protect our egos. Take a common example. Imagine a retiree who's always been the breadwinner. Suddenly, without the office title, they feel small, invisible. They might overcompensate by bossing family around or obsessing over hobbies to prove their worth. That's the surface fix Adler warned about. It doesn't heal. It just masks the wound. But Adler offered a better way, outgrowing that inferiority by shifting from self-focus to social interest. That's his term for caring about others as naturally as you care for yourself, contributing to your community, family, or even strangers. It's like volunteering at the local food bank or mentoring grandkids. It turns personal struggles into something bigger. Adler put it beautifully. A healthy person is not one who avoids suffering, but one who turns suffering into service. Now, listen to this from the Buddha. Live for the welfare of oneself and for the welfare of others. Doesn't that echo Adler? Suddenly, the gap between ancient Eastern wisdom and 20th century Western psychology feels a lot smaller. It's like they're having a conversation across time, both urging us toward a life of connection and purpose. Let's dig deeper into the parallels. Where Adler talks about inferiority complexes and ego defenses, those mental tricks we use to avoid feeling vulnerable, the Buddha describes craving and the illusion of a fixed self. In Buddhism, we cling to ideas like I must always be strong, or my happiness depends on things staying the same. But life changes, jobs end, bodies age, relationships evolve. Clinging just amplifies the pain. Adler might say break free by pursuing goals that benefit others, like starting a community garden in your neighborhood. The Buddha would nod and add cultivate compassion, or metta, which means loving kindness toward all beings, including yourself. It's not about erasing problems. It's about transforming them. Here's a side-by-side comparison to make it crystal clear. On one level, the behavioral both see the insecure self, defending turf, chasing approval, avoiding risks. Think of it like the classic American underdog story, but stuck in the struggle phase without the comeback. On a deeper existential level, they point to growth. The self becomes spacious, generous. Adler calls this psychological maturity, evolving from me first to we together. The Buddha calls it wisdom, awakening to interconnectedness, where your joy comes from easing others' burdens. I remember a story from my own life that illustrates this. A friend of mine in his 60s lost his wife after 40 years of marriage. He could have withdrawn into bitterness. That's the pessimistic route. Instead, inspired by ideas like these, he started a support group for widowers. Turning his grief into service didn't erase the pain, but it gave it meaning. That's Adler and the Buddha in action. So, where does this idea of Buddhism being pessimistic even come from? Often, it's a misunderstanding of letting go. In our go-getter culture, letting go sounds like giving up, like quitting the race before the finish line. But in Buddhism, it's not about indifference or withdrawing from life. It's about dropping the clinging, not the caring. For instance, you don't let go of love. You let go of the fear of losing it. Imagine holding your grandchildren too tightly out of worry. They squirm away. Let go of the grip and the bond deepens. You don't let go of action. You let go of obsessing over outcomes. Like planting a garden, you water it diligently, but you accept that weather might change things. That's freedom, not defeat. Adler echoes this with, true courage is the willingness to struggle for something larger than the self. And the Buddha adds, hatred is never ended by hatred, but only by love. Both are calling us to a bigger perspective. Think of it like expanding from a solo act to joining a symphony. If we look at American history, this resonates. Our founders talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but true happiness often comes from service. Think of figures like Martin Luther King Jr. or everyday heroes in community service. Buddhism and Adler align with that. Suffering isn't the end, it's a teacher. So, is Buddhism pessimistic? Absolutely not. Pessimism whispers there's no way out. Give up. Buddhism declares there's a way out, let me guide you through it. Pessimism leads to resignation, like sitting on the sidelines. Buddhism inspires understanding, compassion, and real freedom, like stepping into the light after a long tunnel. The real question isn't, why does Buddhism talk about suffering? It's, do we want to keep suffering without understanding why, or are we ready to transform it? Both Adler and the Buddha point to the same truth. A life fixated on me stays small and fragile. A life that opens to others, it becomes rich, resilient, and meaningful. Suffering isn't a dead end, it's a doorway to something greater. As we wrap up, I invite you to reflect. In your own life, are you still guarding that old self, or are you stepping through the door to outgrow it? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If this resonated, hit that like button, subscribe for more wisdom on life's big questions, and I'll see you next time. Take care.